Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 11th NFT Guild Roundtable meeting. Today we have Enrique from RMRK giving us a brief look and overview of the RMRK standards NFT, of the RMRK NFT standards capabilities. And after his presentation, we'll take some questions from all the members gathered here and see how the RMRK standards could possibly be integrated into Cardano. Enrique, you have the floor. If you want to share the screen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll get into a little introduction. Yeah, so my name is Enrique. I'm part of the content marketing team at RMRK. And yeah, we had the whole concept of RMRK has been we're trying to build the world's most advanced NFTs and build it in a standardized ways that everyone can implement, right? Because our overarching goal that we've always had the dream of is give NFTs more utility, give them more power, and empower the users, right? I think from the beginning, we've always seen NFTs as this use case of potentials that is really unlimited, and we don't really even know how they'll end up. Very similar to emails and text messaging, right? When emails was created, nobody knew what text messaging would be or how it would become. Likewise, we kind of see NFTs as the same thing. It is right now the simple JPEGs NFTs that we see everywhere is kind of it's the meme now, right? And now there's a lot of teams all over the world and all over the globe trying to create this awesome NFT utility. So the way RMRK applies it and the way we've done it is we really combine this set of 5 NFT Legos, and they combine together to create the RMRK NFT standard. And so it goes a little like this. RMRK NFTs, they start off with nested NFTs. So nested NFTs is the first functionality that our NFTs have. It allows a parent NFT to be created like a JPEG, right? But it can actually equip a secondary, or excuse me, it can actually nest another NFT inside of it. Almost like a bird's nest can have eggs inside of it that then can be equipped later using the other Lego. But or like a backpack, right? The parent NFT would be a backpack, and then any equipment you might find or loot that you might find in games will be actual NFTs themselves that are nested within the NFT. Now, typically, the way you see most of these games today use this is they mint, 6 different NFTs, and they're all held in one wallet. But nothing is actually owned. They actually have to create their own separate backend UI or centralized server to say, hey, well, this parent NFT is a backpack, and thus we allow this using our UI to store these other NFTs within it. We've actually flipped it upside down and say, no, we're actually going to give the parent NFT or the nested NFT the ability to do this. And so you can create parent NFTs and children NFTs. And that is kind of the terminological things. And I'm happy to answer questions later on about that. Now, the other cool thing that we added is that we knew that if we wanted a big use case, especially for gaming and metaverse, we wanted to be able to give NFTs the power to have different outputs or different resources. And we call it the multi-resource NFT Lego. So this is the second Lego of the whole standard of 5 of them. Now we're one step lower. Multi-resource, what it says is that NFTs can now have different outputs or resources. It can be a JPEG, for example, like we see every day. But what if that JPEG actually also puts out sound and also puts out video and also puts out a movie and, all
frozen. It looks like it's Enrique.
Yeah, Enrique seems to be frozen.
Okay, I thought it was just me. I didn't want to interrupt and say something.
No. Hopefully he'll reestablish his connection.
But that sounded very interesting.
Yes, it did.
Such a cliffhanger to end on, to freeze on.
I can give some examples of what he was talking about. So, for example, Kusama, the chain where it started from, has this governance thing where they gave this bookshelf to anyone who is part of the governance, whoever decides to take part of the governance. And then every time there's a vote, and you vote for or against for a proposal, you are rewarded with some item that you can put in your bookshelf. So it's really cool that, like, over the time you collect all this crap that you put in your bookshelf, and then you can later go and see, like, okay, what is this item and what was it? What's the story behind that? So that's just like one simple example of what can be done with this. So there's a lot of opportunities. I can later show it. I hope he comes back. Maybe he made room for Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
Are we gonna blame Patrick for this?
What?
No, it was a joke. I actually called Patrick in. I was like, "Are you coming? Because this sounds really interesting. You should come and listen." But yeah, I hope he comes back.
I hope so too.
It seemed like internet problems. If not, Tommy, you'll have to take over and do the whole presentation.
I was not prepared for that. I just had like 10 hours working day, and I didn't sleep last night because my daughter is in fever. So.
Where is he based?
I think he was US based, but he didn't mention a location.
Because I think there's very weird weather in some places in the US, like, so he might be in one of those places.
Yeah, they need World Mobile to set up a proper internet connection.
He will be reconnecting in a moment. He wrote us a message.
Yeah.
Well, since we have time, if you want, I can share the screen and show the bookshelf. Wait. Can you see?
Hello.
Oh, hi. You're
Hi.
back.
Hi, sorry, apologies. I'm not sure what happened there. It's completely rugged there for a second. Yeah, my internet just all of a sudden crashed. Very weird. Yeah, so I'm not sure how much I got into the multi-resource function, but this is a great example. I'm glad you're pulling this up. I was going to pull up Singular later, but this works great. Yeah, so here's the example of an image, right? We have the first image, which is the bookshelf itself, right? It is the parent NFT, and all of the things that happen within governance of the Kusama proposals, etc. If you participate in the governance, you are or part of a referendum, and you vote, you get awarded an NFT depending on the, whatever the proposal is, the parachain team, etc. And that NFT then can be equipped onto a shelf itself. And so you see here, the parent NFT is the shelf, and the children NFTs are all of these different NFTs that are minted based on whatever referendum with evidence of so. And so we have this capability where if you click on the image itself and the separate NFT, you're able to see one view right? Let's say just call it view 1 for simplicity of an NFT. But once you equip it into another NFT or the parent NFT, you can see view 2. And it would be like the view 2 would be how it looks here on this bookshelf. And so we also have the capability of, it might be an image or an album cover. We have music artists that have started deploying music on Singular. And so they'll have an album cover. They will have children NFTs of separate songs, all nested within the album NFT. And so you can choose to buy an entire album with all of the NFTs in it, or you can choose to buy individual NFTs as well. And so the cool thing is that this album can then change depending on certain conditions. But before we get into that, the equippable NFT part, which you just showed there, is children NFTs can be equipped onto a parent NFT like this bookshelf. Or like I like to think about, if you're playing some kind of RPG game, you can now actually have this functionality within the unique NFT itself and not some centralized backend to do this for you. Because then what happens if the game goes down or the server goes down, that functionality of equippable is gone with it. It's not native to the NFT itself. And so that kind of completes that third Lego that Remark has been building with the NFT standard. The fourth Lego that we have is the on-chain emotes, which is your ability, if you pull up Singular again, I'm not sure if it's gone. If not, I can do it now. And I will share my screen here. Let's see. And we'll just click one of these random ones. This is my wallet here on Singular. And what we have here is, let's say, for example, we can go to an Everloot character. Everloot is a game that has launched on Remark using the Remark NFT standard to build out their customization and of their characters, of their weapons, of all the different types of collections that they have here. So let's see collections here, and we can look at Everloot characters, Ever Souls. What you have here with on-chain emotes as well is that people can actually emote and give some kind of validation or lack thereof of the NFT. So for example, I really like this character here. I can then choose to emote on it and show my interest of this character itself. And so I can show, I really like it. I think this is a really cool looking NFT. Thus, I will give it a smiling, emoji. I will sign my transaction and it'll slowly progress and it'll give that reaction onto the NFT itself, which then further validates or could validate or could add, future value to your NFT. But why is this important? Well, because you can actually, using conditional rendering with Remark, you can actually create functions within the NFTs themselves that can be read. So let's say this character, for every blizzard emoji that I give it, or every, ice, let's say it's, is it ice or is it snowflake? There we go. For every snowflake emoji that I send it, if I send 1,000 of them, it might give it a, 10% or let's say 0.1% chance that the background actually becomes a blizzard biome, just based on the functionality of the Remark standard using this on-chain emotes function. And so we've basically created this set of unique standards that all stack up on top of each other to combine one unique standard, which is we call the Remark standard, that gives all these NFTs this amazing, functionality. And then one thing we hope to, continue adding into the future, which is our fifth Lego, is NFTs as DAOs. So where NFTs themselves can be fractionalized and then used to vote on things. There's implementations of this already available on EVM, but we want to be able to allow it to be used as well with Remark. And so I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the ERC standards. Everyone's familiar, or everyone kind of knows the simple JPEG, the 721 ERC 721s. Then you have the, the ERC 1155s. Remark is basically a combination of those two plus Remark standards. And we're submitting an EIP for that as well, so that we can get approved and have that functionality. And so I've pulled up the website here for the Remark NFT concepts so that you guys can see, and you guys are all welcome to check this out and go to docs at remark.app to learn more about what we use and the different use cases. You know, we talk a lot about cross game skins. This is a big one. For example, with the multi-resource function that Remark offers, using the second Lego that we have here, you can actually have one NFT that is represented in multiple metaverses, but at single time. So that means that your NFT can be in a 2D pixelated metaverse that shows only 2D kind of top-down view. You can then log off of there, take your NFT off of that metaverse and go into another metaverse and use that same NFT character, you know, and go to a 3D metaverse. This is very similar to what we already have with PlayStation and Xbox gamer tags, right? You play different games, but you use the same gamer tag, thus you accrue the same achievements. Everywhere you go, you accrue that same, you know, street cred, or like however good you are. It's very, very similar to what you're doing, what you will be able to do with Remark. And so that is a quick summation of kind of what we're looking for and what we add to the table. You can see a lot of this. So, you know, I would encourage everyone to visit the Singular website just so that you can get accustomed to the utility. You can see that here there's a referendum. This is the way the NFT looks, right? Of the view for if you voted with Remark on this specific proposal. And so you can have multi-resource aspects of this and then equip it onto your shelf as well. And so there's a lot of cool things that we're seeing a lot of teams starting to develop using all 5 of these Legos here. And again, NFTs Estados is not yet ready. We're still working on solutions for that and trying to add that as well. But the majority of this is already capable. Canaria, we can go into our slideshow here that I was willing to show you. Remark needed use cases. How did we show the world that what we are building is really cool and we've put a lot of work into it? There's no better way to do that than build out your own use cases. So Canaria was the first functional use case of this NFT Legos, where our Canaria NFTs have children within themselves, and I can pull that up. And they have and hold. Let's just click on the first one. So this is the first Canaria NFT that is built using the Remark standard. And you have here is the first look of the NFT itself. It's a simple JPEG, no different than any other kind of collection. And then it has 3 different resources, right? So it's 3 different looks. You can have a video output of this. And then if my internet's not rugging me, should look out. So there you go. This you can actually choose for the output to be that, right? And then you can also choose for the output to be, maybe you have an artist do a special rendition of your NFT itself. And so you can have this as well. Instead of just having the bird itself, it's natural organic NFT, which is this, right? You can have all these cool functionalities be represented differently. And it's still all the same NFT. It's not different NFTs being minted to show additional collections. Likewise, if you did a collaboration with another project, we have this term we call, forward compatible and eternally liquid. And so what that means is that it gives your NFTs endless compatibility with other teams if they choose to build with you. And so you can have different resources without having to mint another NFT that then invalidates your first NFT. You can actually have, let's say I do, Remark chooses to build spaceships with Spacer DAO. And now your Canaria can be like shown as the one driving the spaceship. You can just add another additional resource that shows the Canaria driving the spaceship, and then you can just have that as the output without having to mint separate NFTs for that function. And so there's a lot of cool, unique use cases that you can do with that. Let's take a look at the capacity of the children, right? And the nestable NFTs. These are all equipped items that this Canaria owns, right? And so we have soulbound NFTs here, which is a term that's become kind of popular lately because of Italic. And it's something that Remark has been been talking about for a long time, which is because of all of these Legos and functionalities, you can accrue value on your NFT or your identity of your NFT of who you are, your gamer tag per se, as it plays in different universes, collecting items, collecting badges, collecting equippables, etc., that can be these shown as output resources on your main NFT. So we have like, this canary is holding this microphone. And you can see that this microphone itself, this is the standard image, right? But when it's equipped on a Canaria, it actually looks like this, where it's left or right side. Now here it looks good, right? You can just see it's kind of in the middle, but going back to the Canaria, the way it outputs is different, right? On the Canaria itself, it's shown on the right, or I would say the left wing, the Canaria's right wing, but looking at it this way, it's the Canaria's left wing. And so the output is different, but it's equipped. And so these are just, again, cool use cases that you can do. A lot of us had a lot of fun trying to collect different things, etc. And that goes back to what our first project was. The second one was Singular, which is our NFT marketplace, allowing anybody to kind of trade and use these functionalities, create your own collections, add multi-resource functionalities to those. And then we created Skybreach, which Skybreach is our own multi, I would say our metaverse of projects, allowing for this collaboration of collections to come together. And that's been really, really cool, unique experience to build that out. And that's still in current progress, but it allows you to basically have images of your land, be able to quick soundtracks to your land. So when somebody walks into your land, you can listen to a cool soundtrack. Different, buildable structures, etc. And I can't give too much details, but that Skybreach is our main playground for showcasing the true functionality and power of the Remark standard. But that's pretty much it. We can go into deep. I'm not a big slide guy. Sure, we can go into this. I kind of like showing it. These are some of the Lego and the nesting NFTs as the use cases we've talked about as well. These are other examples. They're communities who have also minted NFTs that we then equip to the Canarias and use those as use cases. This is the on-chain emotes. Like we talked about, everyone gave different reactions and hoping that this would change the output of their Canary, and some of them did. Some of them ended up with rare backgrounds in the snowy biomes or in the ocean beaches. Because of the specific emoticons that they were able to get. There was a really cool Canaria that got like 1,000 or something flames that ended up becoming a Firebird Canaria, which are really rare. It's really rare to get those. And so these, all these functionalities just add for a lot of creativity. Like we talked about the NFTs, Soulbound 2.0. Now that everyone likes to talk about that, we've been kind of developing that from the get-go, and it's your NFT itself accruing value over all these experiences, which goes back to the core structure or the core foundation of Remark, which is we got to give NFTs the most utility ever. And one of those is like, what more utility is there than your on-chain identity based on your experiences in different games? Whether you loot a weapon in one game and then use it in another game, it's up to you and the developers that decide to collaborate, but it doesn't change the fact that you still own that NFT, right? Very similar to a gamer tag and achievements, or I think World of Warcraft does like account-wide achievements now, which are recognizable for raiding in different difficult dungeons, etc. All of this can now be done on NFTs with the Remark Lego, and it's a big foundation to what we've been building the entire time. But with that, I mean, if there's any more questions, these are kind of some of the projects that I've been building with Remark. Neon Crisis is a big one. Udo DAO, they're creating a DAO based on NFT voting, which is really cool. Follow World has a spirit. You guys were talking about, Midnight's very cool concept. What they're doing is building with the Remark standard to have a spirit NFT and a shell NFT that allows your spirit will always carry the on-chain identity of your actions on-chain. So anything you do, whether it's DeFi, minting NFTs, participating in governance, it will accrue all that value of all those actions. But then your shell NFT will display those values. So your shell would be like your outer, player or avatar. Whether those NFT actions, or excuse me, whether those on-chain actions might reward you with a sword or specific armor or a logo that can then be shown on your shell NFT. So really cool functionality there to give you an on-chain persona without compromising your anonymity, right? So it becomes your on-chain identity using the Remark standard. Pretty cool use cases. But with that, I mean, these are some of the partners we've had as well here within the Dasama ecosystem. And I'll open up the floor to questions if you guys are ready for that.
I think it's super cool. I feel like you really need to get in contact with Patrick and maybe Alessandro and see if just for you to understand the Cardano ecosystem a little better and maybe port the functionality onto Cardano NFTs. There are so many games being built that I feel like what you're doing would be perfect for games on Cardano.
Mhm.
One thing that I'm not very, I don't know if I'm very clear on, it's so the nest. If I sell you the nest, do you get everything that's in it?
Yes, you would, or you would
Okay.
have to unequip it. Yeah.
Or I would have to unequip it. But when I unequip it, all the things I take out of it
Mhm.
become separate NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you
I
can
can
sell
put
those
the brick in,
separately.
I can take the brick out.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a limit to how many bricks an NFT can have, or is that defined when you build that NFT?
Yeah, it's kind of defined depending on the NFT and what's the use case, and all that's part of the
So
cool
that shelf
functionality.
can technically become full.
Yes, then you would have to get a separate shelf, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bigger flex because then you have two shelves, right?
Mm-hmm. You've been doing it for a
Okay.
longer time.
You've been doing it for a longer time. Okay.
You
That's
can
super
consider
interesting.
yourself a true on-chain governance OG, and you have the wallet to show it and the shelf to show it. And sure, somebody can always buy that shelf and say, hey, these were mine, but you can see the purchase transaction of that, right? So it almost
Yes.
evolves that soul-bound NFT concept to here's your on-chain actions being rewarded in this way. And it's just because a project decided to build with the Remark standard to show this, right? But imagine, 50 projects building with the Remark standard and it's showing them how active you are in all these different communities and building and accruing all of that value within these cool collections that you have all on your wallet. It's a really cool, neat feature.
I'm just trying to think about it from a Cardano perspective and how the policy IDs would play, because it would, yeah, it's just running in my head. I really think you talking to someone like Patrick or Alessandro or both of them, maybe the guild can make it happen, put you guys in a call and try and figure something out, because it seems like it's doable, but I think the policy ID would have to stay open, because I don't know if you know how Cardano works, but
Yeah, not too familiar with the technical side of it in terms of how the coding language. I mean, I know, Plutus and I talked to the guys earlier about I was a very OG first experience of NFTs was actually on Cardano using the Avi wallet and like minting NFTs on CNFT before JPEG Store became a thing. When there was no smart contracts and you just had to hope that somebody sold the NFT and sent it to you, right? It's like I told them my first rug pull was cat donuts and Cardano lizards. So yeah, big OG. Now, subsequently, since we've joined Remark, it's very hard to keep up with two ecosystems on a very deep level, right? And so we're mostly focused on the Polkadot and Datsami ecosystem. But with that being said, I mean, we're always open to exploring providing guidance on a rewrite of Remark using Plutus v2. I know that is now more capable and more of a functionality that wasn't necessarily available back then. So yes, there's some cool things that we can definitely do to be able to do that. That would allow for massive utility to Cardano. I mean, big OG Cardano people. So we always loved it, but again, we love NFTs more. And so joining Remark and seeing this vision was so critical for us to be able to just from a content marketing perspective, be able to make that vision come true and educate the masses on that.
Yeah, when we think about the utility, it actually goes way beyond the games that we have been mostly focusing on here. Like governance has been mentioned. That's one of the things. Like Project Catalyst itself could use Remark NFTs. Maybe proposals could be NFTs. Maybe they could be nested with other NFTs. Maybe members could be NFTs. Whatever. Who knows?
Right.
There's so much room for innovation in governance. And then the other one is that Cardano is very much focused on impact. And if you have any of these impact projects, their community becomes a really big part. And then this kind of things that like being able to emote on NFTs and those having some impact on the NFT, then that could like track certain things like that could be used for voting, for example, what you mentioned, this is Doodle DAO that I don't know much about, that you can tell more about.
Yeah, definitely. Yuda DAO goes very deep. That's a whole conversation in and of itself. They're an amazing team. They have a reputational avatar system built out for their DAO, and it's not implemented yet, but it's being implemented, and it's amazing functionality. But to go back to some of the utility, one thing that we talk about, it's like a personal favorite for me, is everyone tries to marry DeFi and NFTs differently. Right. And the biggest use case is like, hey, if this NFT is worth $5,000, then I should get maybe a DeFi loan for at least $1,000. I mean, yeah, sure, you can think about it that way. But what I think about NFTs being used in NFT is almost like Soulbound or NFT or reputation built out over the DeFi ecosystem. So you've participated in various loans that you've paid back. Boom, you get an NFT nested to your DeFi wallet or DeFi parent NFT. And so now you accrue these almost validation badges that almost work like a credit system that says, hey, this guy repays all their loans and does really well in DeFi, thus he's more trustworthy. Or the emoticons, the emojis can be then given to certain people by certain DeFi protocols. There's a lot of cool functionality that you can really add to it where you don't have to do these separate things of, hey, we're only going to give you a DeFi loan based on the value accrual of NFTs. I think that's very just single-minded, and maybe the easiest use case, because NFTs right now are mostly seen as JPEGs, and a lot of the functionality that RMRK is building just wasn't available for a very long time. But hopefully we see that is the future that we want to give the world, and something we're looking forward to. But yeah, I think the utility can go very far, more further than a gaming perspective. We're talking about real estate recently, because we've seen some real estate transactions go through where a house was tokenized and then bought really quickly without the middleman. But the cool thing is that at that point, it's like, if you decided to upgrade your house, what would that look like? You would have to burn the original NFT and then maybe mint another NFT to show that you added rooms, and maybe you added a pool, and maybe you added cool stuff. Well, with RMRK, what you do is just update the resource, the output image, or the output resource of what it is, and add the separate rooms there as like separate NFTs. You can add when they were added, how long they've been there, what materials were used. You can really take it so many steps. But again, a lot of it wasn't available when a lot of these products were built. So the main thing is increasing the proliferation and the building of RMRK around crypto and different ecosystems, because we're really a standard.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because one of these impact-driven projects that we have is Empower, and they provide affordable housing, and they have exactly this concept that they have modular houses that can be amended later when people have more money. So even there, like there's a lot of possibilities. But maybe we should, before we wrap things up, maybe we should look at the collaboration part, and what do you see as the way forward, and what role your team would play in it, and what do you need from Cardano side to happen?
Yeah, definitely. From a role perspective, so much of the team is centered around building on Substrate and EVM, but we would definitely, because we've had this experience of teaching and leading the development of RMRK in other languages or in other platforms, whether it's Substrate or Solidity, Frame or Ink or other different teams. Guidance has been a thing that we've been doing really well and we can execute very well on. And so, like, let's say a Cardano team says, hey, we really like what the RMRK team is doing. How can we bring this to Cardano? We would definitely look at a partnership where we can provide guidance and leadership of how the Legos work, how they could be implemented, in what cases they could be implemented. What is the quickest way to delivery? A lot of this, via grant proposals that are maybe given by the Cardano Foundation or IOHK.
Cool. Others, questions, comments?
Yeah, I actually have a lot of questions, but I don't know how deep we should go. But first off, the minting of the different nested, the capabilities with nesting. How can you differentiate between a NFT that is the main NFT, if you like, and the ones that are going inside the shelf, or so that can you put a shelf into a shelf, or is there some constraints there?
Yeah, the constraint would, as far as I know, that you cannot put a parent into another parent, right? That is
Okay.
part of the constraint.
So they are actually minted in a different way.
No, I wouldn't say, well, I would say the IDs and the way they function is different, right? If you're minted as a parent, then you are a parent. If you're minted as a child, then you are a child. But the child can be independent. So a child cannot become a parent, right?
I see.
So yeah, it's not like you can mint, let's say, there are games out there, you have a backpack, but then you might mint a pouch that goes inside the backpack. As far as I know, I mean, I'm not from the dev side, and I'm work on the content in the biz dev side for Remark, but as far as I know, there is no, like, the small pouch. It's the small pouch itself would similar in one game work as a parent NFT, where you can put things in the small pouch that then you can put into a backpack, right? That's currently, I don't think that's available at Remark, or I haven't seen a use case for that. But there are cool stuff that you can add to it. The soulbound NFTs, for example, an NFT can be a soulbound type NFT that has utility, like the crystals that are on Canarius. They themselves hold cool use cases that can be used. Like a braggy gem can be burned for a specific utility, like giving your Canaria a different output resource. So you decide to commission an artist to give you a 3D rendition of your Canaria. You can then burn your braggy gem to allow that to be equipped onto your Canaria to give a different output. So there's cool, unique use cases for that as well. But when it comes to parent being owned by another parent, not yet, not that I know of.
Yeah, I was thinking about if you wanted to sell one of the nested ones, if they
Yeah, you
wanted
would.
to make use of them as the main one, is that possible, or?
Yeah, for sure. You would have to, you at that point would unequip it, right? Transfer it outside of that. So maybe this will help. If you have a wallet and a parent NFT that owns an NFT without the parent, you would just send that child NFT outside of the parent into your main wallet, and then you can use it for whatever, right? It just has to be sent out of the parent NFT, because we've solved the solution of, centralized servers doing this for you. We do it within the NFT itself. And so if this is a parent and you have children inside your parent, and you want to sell it or use that children for something else or a different, for example, games say, a good example we're seeing now is games are thinking about, hey, if you're built with the Remark standard, if you have looted this specific crown from this game, you can then use this crown in our game to show that, hey, you're a big supporter, you're a grinder, you put a lot of effort into it. You can take that child NFT outside of that parent NFT and then can be given a different resource, which then can go somewhere else or being used in another game. So there's some cool functionality there as well.
Regarding the on-chain emojis or emotes, I saw that you did a transaction when you did the emotes. And what is the incentive behind that model?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, for example, for newcomers, when you talk about NFTs, one of the cool things that we know now is, hey, depending on rarity, different NFTs have different outputs in terms of, like, You might have a different rare background, etc., but you don't really know how rare it is. You don't really know what the OG collection might be if it's a new collection that just got minted. Emojis give more credibility to the NFT itself, and also can take away credibility, I guess, technically. You know, it's almost left up to the community itself. For example, if there's a couple NFTs that have been stolen, everybody in the community can then decide to mark those NFTs as, you know, big cross and, you know, or maybe the skull, to show that, hey, don't buy this NFT, it was actually stolen. And then it becomes like a community policing kind of thing, where now you're not left up to hackers just liquidating these NFTs immediately, right?
Yeah,
and so
that makes sense to have some kind of fee in order to make the crossing as well. So
and
that
so
you simply just don't ban everybody.
that's just a simple use case. You know, what we're Mark did with it, the emojis, is we allowed some gaming mechanics to be applied. So if your, you know, emoji received 1,000 flames, it had a higher probability of being a fire canaria when it spawned from its egg, right? The egg was one resource, and then the canaria was another resource, and so, or another NFT. And so when we did that, the burning of the egg, it spawned a canaria with more, you know, with the flames, a full flamed out-kitted canaria that was done by emojis.
Yeah, for the other people, I just go in, but I will just continue. Regarding the emotes themselves, are they standard, or can you create your own new emotes as well?
No, the emotes are standard by what we have right there. I'm not sure if you could create new emotes to add onto. I suppose you could. Those are just the ones we use.
Are they themselves NFTs?
No, the emotes are not themselves NFTs. They're just an on-chain reaction, and they're given a value based on, you know, that.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the question. It's really good questions there.
Even there, the imagination is limit. You could have 3 logs, and if you get 100 fire emotes, then it catches fire or something.
Yeah, for the multi-resource NFTs, there was mentioned images, videos, audio. Are these all of them, or are there more, and is it possible to define more?
Yeah, I think that those are the use cases we have right now. For example, you know, I was talking about album covers. Like one of my favorite artists, I like a lot of like techno lo-fi kind of music. And so one of my favorite artists puts out albums and music all the time, and I purchase his albums and his singles via NFTs, and I listen to them. But yeah, he has a sound to the NFT with a specific album cover to the NFT itself for that collection. He has different collections with different album covers and different sounds, but you kind of know them based on the album, right? Instead of just the name. And you're like, oh, I'm expecting this kind of sound from this kind of album and this kind of sound. So one of the albums, it's called Midnight Summer, and it's almost like this 80s retro, you know, techno sounding, the stuff that's kind of coming back up, and I love that sound. But if I go to like Noise Code, which is a different album, I'm already expecting a different kind of sound, and it's all based on, you know, outputs and resources. It's really cool, unique way that he kind of segments his collections.
Cool.
Multi-asset NFTs is actually built into the Cardano standard from the get-go. So in Cardano, you can have a variety of multiple assets, images, videos, music files attached to a single NFT already. That's in the original Cardano standard for NFTs. But as for the rest, I'm really curious. Maybe the more technically oriented members of this call could answer, because I know you've been branching out into EVM chains, and we don't have a lot of info about how Polkadot works, if NFTs are native assets or not. But on Cardano, NFTs are actually native assets that live on on the base layer of the chain, similar to how ADA does. So they're not controlled by smart contracts, right? You don't need smart contracts to have NFTs on Cardano. So that's why this linkage that you're describing with the nesting and with the equipability is something that will probably have to work a bit differently on Cardano, either via some sort of smart contract that houses those NFTs that are meant to be equipped or nested, or some other new standard. So that's,
Yeah, for sure.
that opens up a lot of questions and a lot of discussions to be had if the standards are to be implemented on a Cardano. And what Chadi mentioned earlier, on Cardano, we have this notion of closed and open policy. So a closed policy entails that after a certain date, you cannot make any more modifications to the policy, to the collection itself, or to the NFTs within it. You can't change the metadata at all, right, after a certain date. And this wouldn't be compatible with what you described today, with the ability to equip, unequip, nest, and so forth, or to even maybe emoji, associating emojis, that could be done in a different way. But yeah, those are open questions that I guess the Cardano community would need to figure out before implementing the remark standard. One of the things that I was curious about was actually the NFTs as DAOs that you mentioned. I know you said that that's not a finished standard yet, but maybe you can elaborate more in what directions is that going, or how do you see that community ownership of a piece? Does that get automatically distributed to the participants, the members of the DAO, or how does that work? How will that work?
Yeah, it could work like that. We used to use the example of a billboard. 100 people buy into a billboard NFT that then generates revenue via advertising that then gets split into 100 different people, right? But now, because we've seen the governance model work so well, we think that is a really strong use case past the I guess, pump and dump and kind of crypto vibe that a lot of communities think that everything has to generate value or monetary value. And we've moved more towards the governance model, which is like, hey, governance and as DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, is more actually important to the entire crypto space than maybe something like that would be. So we're still developing different things and how this can be applied, but UdoDAO is a good example of that and how they've built it out. We're looking to go more towards that route. Not saying that the other one isn't viable at all, but it's just more what we care about when it comes to making NFTs more utilized. So yes, it would be more of a governance model that we're looking to add the NFTs as DAOs parts. It's like everyone casts a vote versus on a certain proposal, and thus the amount of votes are given. But Bruno, our head guy, would be able to tell you more about his vision, because he's the big brain behind the whole entire thing. And he's got his crazy wild ideas that he's really, really good at elaborating on. To return on the multi-resource kind of function that Cardano does, I guess the question would be, if the NFT could do that, all of that, can it do it separately, or in every single place that you go? If you go to 3 places, it does the music, the video, all at the same time, or can I do it separately? For example, what Remark does is it could be a PDF on Kindle, but not play the sound, right? It could be a video and show you the image and play the sound. You have the options to code those in. It could be separate individually and represent itself independent of all the other functions and resources that it has. I'm not sure Cardano offers that. If you have 5 marketplaces and they all play music, video, and image, the standard would be to play all of those on all 5. You couldn't necessarily play just one.
Well, I guess that would be up to the front end displaying the content. And what you're saying is that the remark standard allows for metadata or other info in the NFT itself to determine what content gets played where. Is that what you're describing? Because otherwise, the front end would need to determine basically what gets displayed.
Yeah, I guess I
I
would.
agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying that I agree with Raresh that we already have this kind in our standard already. So it would be up to the client to make the selection according to the content being provided to the user, I guess, also.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Maybe Enrique was describing that you can actually embed something in the metadata of the NFT that would inform what to display independent of the client, of the front end. I'm not sure if
I think so too, Raresh. I think some kind of on-chain repository of what should be. I mean, this would be completely separate from the client, of course, wouldn't it? But I think there's no reason why. I mean, at least at first, there can't be some kind of workaround where that information isn't necessarily included with the NFT, but it's on-chain somewhere and available somewhere. I know this might be creating more work for everybody, but that's a very interesting point that you both just raised there in the past few minutes, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say, to go back to how does this work with, Polkadot. So because Kusama does not have smart contracts, the way Remark was actually implemented on Kusama with all of this functionality was actually like graffiti on blocks or metadata on the actual blocks themselves. It wasn't via smart contracts. Our EIP and Ethereum proposal are all smart contract functionality, which will allow us to have, the Remark standard on EVM also on Polkadot, because there's EVM parachains that have launched on the Kusama network and the Polkadot network that will be able to utilize the Remark NFT standard. But that is separate than the Kusama way, right? The Kusama way uses extrinsics, it uses remarks or system.remarks. And again, it's without getting too technical, because I myself sometimes lose my ability to explain it. You can look into the docs.remark.app and find out more and dig into what the different versions of Remark that we've had to implement to be able to adjust again to the current landscape of what we're going. So yeah, I mean, it would be really exciting to be able to write a version of this in Plutus. We don't have any Plutus devs per se, right? The majority of our devs, or I would say the totality of our devs, are outside of Cardano ecosystem, but it would be really cool, and we definitely give it a hard thought into some kind of proposal where a Cardano team would want to implement some of these features, or the Remark Legos, where we can serve as guidance to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, hopefully this conversation leads to more deeper collaboration. And you mentioned earlier in your presentation that maybe the Cardano Foundation or IOG would be willing to fund such an endeavor, but actually Cardano has its own treasury, so the community itself can fund projects. We don't rely on centralized entities like the foundation or IOG to fund. It has to, of course, be voted on by the community, but if we manage to convince enough people that this would be a worthwhile endeavor, possibly we can continue it and at least explore this collaboration further.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, especially like I said, with this Plutus smart contract upgrade, I think a lot of it becomes more feasible.
Yeah. And one last question before we wrap up. A lot of the stuff that you described, especially when it came to the items equipped by the NFT, it sounded like almost like they're not NFTs, like proper NFTs, but more like fungibles, like the mic you showed or something like that. It seemed like a wide range of other NFTs could equip a very similar, maybe identical item. Did I get that right? Or
Yes. So I mean, technically you could mint you could have like another resource, and certain items could be given usability in other collections. Is that what you're referring to?
No, but for instance, if you have a collection of 10,000 canaries, like you showed,
Mhm.
and maybe 5,000 of them have the mic asset,
Mhm.
does that need to be an NFT, or can it be fungible with a quantity of 5,000 in the collection that gets equipped by each one that has that attribute in its inventory? Or
Yeah, so the way it works is they're independent NFTs. For example, I have bought my own Canaria items from the marketplace. So when the Canarias were spawned, the Canaria were spawned, they all had different items. Some people decided to sell some of those items. So I bought some of those items and I equipped them to my own Canaria, which was a completely different NFT. So children NFT can be interchangeable. It doesn't have to stay on that parent. You can be cross and they are more fungible in terms of they can be bought and sold to be equipped in different canarias. For example, a metal canaria or a wind canaria, etc. Can add a firecracker NFT and it can show that. Or we have a rocket. I really like the rocket NFT because it looks like the emoji rocket. And so I equipped that and I bought one and I equipped it to one of my Canaria NFTs. So yeah, they're interchangeable. It adds fungibility to the NFTs themselves. They don't have to stay within that parent NFT. Hopefully that answers your question.
yeah, more or less. It's been
Okay.
it's been very good to have you on, Enrique, today. And with that, we'll wrap up and post this recording. Hopefully, the Cardano community will get a first glimpse into what the Remark standards can offer, and interest for them will be born.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, well, thanks for having me again. It feels cool to close the loop and to come full circle from Cardano to then these other experiments to Remark and now back to Cardano. Hopefully there is something that we can work in the future. And maybe I don't have to relive the cat donut days anymore. So yeah, so thank you guys. I appreciate your time, and as always, we're here for any answers. Feel free to reach out. We would love to collaborate on anything.
Thanks a lot for the presentation, for answering our questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah.